Are you frustrated with your job? Are you not happy with what you wake up and do every day? Is it maybe your time, you feel like your time is over in the place? Are you feeling like it's not what you expected? Things are just not working out as you had thought? Do you feel like you have been placed in a position that you never intended to be in your career? Well, let me tell you, there's nothing wrong with you. It is usual for people to feel frustrated in their work. My name is Mabongi, and I just want to share some of the things I did when I faced the same challenge. Perhaps let's start here. What is the source of your frustration? I remember when I discovered that I was frustrated with my job, my very first job. Funny enough, it was my very first job. I can say I was fortunate to be to be working in the organization that I was working on at, and I loved working there, but somehow I was just frustrated by what I was doing. Some of the frustrations didn't come from the actual work that I was doing. It also did not come from the environment. The environment that I'm thinking, if I'm looking at the many employments that I have occupied, the environment was the best by far, in terms of opportunities for growth, in terms of, opportunities to grow in your career, to grow as an individual. There was just so many opportunities. It was a good environment for me. And so I wasn't sure what to make of my frustration. I would want to complain, but not feel like I have the right to complain because I was earning well, much better than my peers. I was in a job that was secured. And so some of my complaints were not necessarily um, what I was comfortable to share because they would not make sense to other people. So I started looking at what is the source of my frustration. I think the first thing I came to realize was that I was in a position, my position was an entry level. And so everybody that wanted to, um, I don't know, to feel important, they will have to look down at our position, at my position. I would refer to that as my position because perhaps others didn't feel the way that I did. Um, so anyone who wanted to speak about people that were not professional, it would be made, a reference would be made to my entry level, to people at my entry level. Obviously, perhaps I've done that too in other positions, but I've never looked at it in a position where I was the receiver of those comments. So things like we would be on site, perhaps once a month or twice a month, and each time would be there people that are on site frequently will just feel so um, I don't know, overwhelmed by us. We will feel out of place consistently because people are frustrated with our noise. Our team was very big. And so when we come, you will feel the sound. I mean, we were like more than 500 people in my division. And so the place will be loud, and those that we are in at other levels, senior levels, will be frustrated. And so those light comments, those attitudes toward my team were making me to be frustrated. I thought perhaps the job that I'm doing is insignificant. Perhaps it's not that important. Perhaps it's not what, you know, makes this whole place run. And so when I discovered that actually I was now in the attitude of what they were describing, the loud, the nuisance in a sense. I felt like that every day. I felt, and it was taking my morale, it was taking my energy. I would I would be called into the office and I would not know where to sit, where to go, how to handle myself. I would feel so insignificant and so small until I then did the three things that I want to teach you about. Now, I don't know what your reason is. Perhaps it's you feel like you're not being paid adequately in your job. Perhaps you feel like you're not being appreciated. Perhaps you feel like a misfit. You feel like everyone is able to work as a team, but you're just a misfit. Perhaps you feel like it's not what you thought it would be. It's not as exciting as you thought it would be. You thought this was a greener pasture. Perhaps it's not. It was oversold to you. Perhaps you thought this was the career of your life, and only to get there to discover that the company that you were longing to work for years, it's not what you actually are meeting. And so the source of your frustration is not necessarily what you do, but it's just the atmosphere or the environment or your expectations that are not being met, or just some emotional things that you're dealing with that you can't really express, but it's getting to your work. You're getting frustrated. Now you're coming in late. Now you're not able to submit on time. Sometimes it's a drag for you to work. you know you're getting into squabbles at work. You're fighting with your boss. There's just many things that are happening that are just making you unhappy. It doesn't matter what it is. Maybe you feel like your time is up. Maybe you feel like some people are against you at work. Maybe it's not a good environment. Maybe you do have a very bad boss or bad manager or supervisor. Perhaps you have people that are not trustworthy. Maybe you're frustrated because everyone here is lying. Everyone here has ulterior motives. Perhaps that's your source of frustration. But you know what? I feel like we need to talk about this in this season, because this is not the time for people to quit their jobs. Now it's different. The times we're in, it's hard to find new jobs. Now you just have to work with what you have. Now, I'm not saying stay in a place that is sucking your life out. This is not the point. The point for this is so that while you are there, you are able to cope with the environment. You are able to cope with what is happening. So I'm going to give you just three secrets to change how you feel about your job, or three ways you can still be successful in a job that you hate. You know, well, if you cannot change how you feel, at least you can win at it. If you can't change the environment, at least you can still thrive in it. These are the secrets that I want to share with you. So, the first thing that I want you to look at, to consider, is redefine your job. Now, redefining a job is what I did with my first job, the one that made me feel like I was insignificant, like I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't, part of the bigger scale of things in the company, in the organization. And so I started redefining my work. Now, let me tell you, I was a field worker in a research institution. I was employed there as a field worker, and my highest education level at the time that they actually even considered was my matric. And so I had to redefine and make myself significant in a place where people never thought I was significant. The first thing that I did, I changed the name, the title of my job. I went and I searched. Firstly, I wasn't familiar with the field of science. My background is hospitality. I had been training prior to this job. I had been training as a chef, but because I wasn't finding work as a chef, I landed up in this organization. And so when I got employed, it was a mass recruitment. Many of us were employed out of thousands of people. They wanted just about 20 something, just above 24 or 25. And so I was amongst the first four that started working. And so I had some little pride that I had when I was stepping in, but that little pride of saying, I came here and I was one of the best that you could find in our community. But I had to work with to improve my self-esteem, to improve my morale. And so changing my job title had to do with me investigating where I'm at, bridging the gap where I thought I was gonna go and work in a hotel or a resort. Now I'm working in a research institution and nobody cares. I was, the highest in my class. Nobody cares. I was, the on the top four that were recruited. Nobody cared. And so I had to find something to stand on. So I went looking and searching to better understand the nature of my job. And I discovered that in the scale of things, I was not just a field worker, someone who wouldn't go and knock in people's doors and, and take their information. I was a research technician. Although I was not perhaps a master's student or a PhD student, but I was doing what they actually could be doing if they were in my shoes. And so my job was not insignificant as I thought. It was a very important job. My job was to visit the homes of the participants, study participants, to follow them up, to ask questions, bring back the data that the mighty scientists need. Without me, they would not have that data. And so I had to put value on my job. So redefining my job was for me to move from the idea you are a field worker, you just, go into people's homes, to I am a research technician and I collect data. I don't just go and ask people questions. I'm no longer just completing my bundle because it was those three things that we were doing. Our job description had three things, that were very important. It was visiting homesteads. Even the language was a language that people at entry level could understand, but it was taking, as they were simplifying our job description, they were taking value out of it. And so I added that value. So when you look at your job, you might have been employed as a cleaner and people are treating you like a cleaner, like someone who's not important in the company. Well, my dear, it will be your job to look at your job and your job description in a different view. Perhaps you are not just a cleaner, you know, you are at housekeeping, you are a housekeeper, and you have to treat yourself as someone who's a professional, in your field, in your position. You have to handle yourself as someone who is a professional in your field. Are you a security guard? Oh, do you know how important security and safety in a workplace? When you don't view yourself as just someone who opens the gate for the cars. No, you're making sure that people are safe in the workplace. You are looking at who comes in. Are they harmful to those that are inside? That's very insignificant in your job. And so when you change, your job title, your job description, and you put it in words that dignify it, that puts value on it, then it changes your attitude and your morale each time you go to work. Now you're not going there as a field worker. No, I'm a research technician. I work with scientists. I'm just in the other side of things where things start. I'm not just an entry level kind of someone. I'm where things start. This is where the system begins, and everyone gets to play a role, and I get to collect this data that they need. Without me, everything will fall apart. And so that's what redefining your job means. What are you doing? Are you just the receptionist? Are you just the manager? Are you just a PA? Are you just no, you're not just. You are someone significant. And should you not be in that job, your space will be felt. And so that's the first secret. It doesn't matter how you feel about that job, but redefine it and place value on it. Because the more you place value on it, you are actually placing value on yourself. All right, let's move on. The second one is repurpose. Now, there's many reasons why people find jobs. Others are finding and their jobs and they're building their careers. They are on route to something bigger and better. So perhaps this position is a stepping stone to what you actually want. Perhaps you're here on obligation. You're here because if you're not here, things are not going to go maybe with your well-being. Maybe you're here, you are forced to be here because your family depends on it. Perhaps the reason why you're here is so that you get yourself through school. Perhaps you're here because you have to take care of your family. You're a mom or you're a dad. You're the head of the family. Perhaps there's many reasons why people take jobs. It doesn't matter at this point. Now you are frustrated. It doesn't matter. You need to revisit the purpose and make sure that your why is big enough to make you stay, make yourself invisible to some of the hits that you're going to take. Guess what? A person who says, I'm here for my children is different from someone who is here because they are rushing to the next best thing. Their resilience, their patience, their diligence can be weighed differently because the person who says, I cannot lose this, I cannot play with this, I cannot fool around with this opportunity because my why is more serious, they can take nonsense. They can withstand adversities in the workplace. And so their resilience produces endurance. It produces longevity in their journey, longevity in their careers because they don't easily quit. And so when you repurpose something, it doesn't matter why you came here. It doesn't matter. Someone thought you could use this opportunity. Now it's frustrating and you hate this job. Well, it doesn't matter if someone opened the opportunity for you. You need to treat it well. So why are you here? Make sure that your why is making you stay. And while you are staying, you are, next thing, winning at it. That's the third thing. When you are not winning in your job, it's so easy for you to be demoralized. If you are keeping, if the if let's say you work in sales and each time you are given a target a week you are failing to reach the target, if you are you're supposed to have finished 3 reports yet you are not able to even finish the second report, when you're not winning, it's easy for you to be frustrated. Now you have to find the source of your frustration. What is it that is causing you not to win? Are you struggling with making sales? What will make you win? That's the good question. What will make you win here? Work at that. Do not, how can I put this? Do not make it another person's responsibility for you to win. It does not depend on your supervisor. It does not depend on your manager or what. It does not. At the end of the day, winning depends on you. Because sometimes you might be working in an environment where resources are inadequate for you to actually succeed. What are you going to do? You have to make a plan, make use of the resources, the minimal resources that you have. I can say, they didn't give me enough training. Well, this is a different era that we're in. We've got AI, for crying out loud. God search. How do you win in the job that you're working in? Make a plan so that you win in spite of, minimal resources, in spite of low budgets, in spite of a bad boss, in spite of people that are not grateful, in spite of people that are giving you, salaries that are low. Doesn't matter. You have to win. What happens if you don't win? This is the mistake that we do. We want people to see that we're frustrated. and then we don't do a good job. We come in late, we don't report if we're not coming. We just give people the bare minimum. But when you do that, not only are you doing it to your organization or your boss or your supervisor, you actually are doing it to yourself, because the next time you find a job, you actually need the reference from the previous boss. You need to make reference on your previous experience. And if you do not have wins from your previous experience, it actually frustrates you in the future. And so when you win, you're not only making the organization win, you're making yourself win. And so that's how you actually make things work for yourself. And so I hope this is helpful. You redefine your job so that you put value again. And if your job description wasn't, clear, make sure that now it's clear, because you're redefining it. You want to understand it better. Why, how can you do your job better? You repurpose. Why? You give yourself the big why, because it will make you resilience in the workplace. And then win at it. Let people that had been planning ills, against you at work, be confused, because sometimes you just, each time they do something to you, you bring, you bring they bring the best out of you. And so even, your hard employer must actually know that you won in spite of the evils that perhaps they did, to you while you were there. And so you have to make yourself win no matter what. It doesn't matter whether you love the job or not. That's out of question in this season. You just have to win with whatever God brings before you. If you think this was helpful, well, let me know. You can book a session with me, then we can go deeper in how to make yourself win in the job that frustrates you. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for watching.